This is Edwin Kwan from Sydney, Australia. My recent conference presentation on open source security revealed a common theme. Audience members didn't realize how pervasive open source is. Everyone in the audience knew that their organization used a fair number of open source components, but they thought that it makes up only a small percentage of their applications, at around 30% or less. The truth is that open source makes up the bulk of your applications. Industry reports have estimated that 85% of modern applications are built from open source components. That percentage is higher for modern JavaScript web applications, with 97% of the code coming from open source components. My analysis has found that those numbers to be a low estimate, with the percentage for Java applications at around 98%. What was surprising was around 3/4 of those open source components were not explicitly incorporated into their applications. They were transitive dependencies. And with organizations embracing generative AI for their software development, that 2% of custom code might not even be written by their developers. Our use of open source software is growing exponentially, with the number of download requests exceeding 4 trillion last year. That's almost doubling from 2 years ago. But a critical caveat exists. Not all open source software are created equal. Around 500 billion download requests made last year were for components with known risks. This is around 1 in 8 downloads for components that have one or more identified security vulnerabilities. Log4j is one such component. It had a critical vulnerability that was disclosed in December 2021 and resulted in most organizations enacting their incident response plans. Today, around 35% of download requests for Log4j are still for vulnerable versions. That's a 1 in 3 downloads. Why are we still downloading open source components with known risks, especially components like Log4j? I believe that for most organizations, they are unaware of their open source consumption, especially for transitive dependencies. Do you know your organization's open source consumption? Do you have a software bill of materials? If you don't, then you're probably using more open source than you realize. By taking proactive steps to illuminate and manage open source usage, organizations can harness the power of open source while mitigating associated security risks.